we need to talk about comprehensible input. Hello and welcome. Welcome to Input English. This episode is entitled Comprehensible Input. This is a big topic for us. This is the name of the game. This is why we are here. It's such a big topic, it would be easy to get carried away. It would be easy to give too much detail. Make a video that's 2 hours long. And that's not what we need here. What we need is something short and sweet. We do not want something long and drawn out. So short and sweet. There are many ways to look at comprehensible input. It's a huge topic. Lots of people have worked in this area over a period of half a century. And so to distill this down to a short presentation is not so easy. What I've chosen to do is focus on our lineage. So this channel, Input English, has a lineage. So when I say that, it's kind of like grandparents, parents, and then, for instance, me or you. So that's the lineage. Family, generation after generation. So in the development of comprehensible input, we start with a problem. In the mid-20th century, the problem was very clear. Babies are born, and within 3, 4, 5 years, they're all fluent. The success rate for babies learning their first language is nearly 100%. However, people trying to learn a second language, particularly adults, the results are much, much worse. A lot of people were in the field of teaching second languages. This was a big societal effort the world over, teaching second languages. But the results were just not very good. Around that era, people started suggesting that maybe there's this critical period that you can learn languages, and then after that, you just can't learn. So the critical period theory came up. And that was not helpful, because basically it was just a barrier. If you believed that the critical period theory was true, then there was no point. There was no point. Then things happened. A couple of things. There were a lot of efforts to teach language more effectively. There were a lot of people who just tried to make better material and just work harder, just basically work harder. In human experience, frequently if you have a problem, some people will see that as an opportunity for innovation. And that's what we see here. A few things happened. So in the 60s, Marvin Brown was a freshly graduated PhD linguist with expertise in the Thai language. So at some point he went to Thailand and was involved with a school teaching English and Thai where it was necessary. And his initial approach was make better materials, work harder, more elaborate drills and homework assignments and materials. The results were not very good. It was the same old problem. And then something happened. At USC in California, Stephen Krashen published a paper that introduced the input hypothesis. Half a decade later, he and Tracy Terrell wrote a book and published it entitled the natural approach. This is the introduction of comprehensible input as a better method of teaching language. Now, over the next 40 years, Stephen Krashen, now emeritus professor from USC, has produced books, papers, lectures, seminars. He has been very, very prolific and very helpful. You can now see Professor Krashen's YouTubes, which are currently available on YouTube. You can see lectures, seminars, discussions, interviews, and it's fascinating. In about 1983, Marvin Brown read Krashen's book on the natural approach, and it changed everything. But Marvin Brown was in an interesting situation. He was at a language school in Thailand, and so he had an opportunity to put it to the test. So they did, and the results were so much better. Now, Marvin Brown wrote books on the subject. He wrote a book that you can get. Last time I checked, it was a download available online called From the Outside In. It's an autobiography that describes his approach to comprehensible input. So our lineage is from the problem. A lot of people are trying to fix it, but not getting great results. And then Stephen Krashen introduces the input hypothesis, comprehensible input, and then that went to Marvin Brown, who put it to the test and refined it further. So is that where the lineage ends? No. My interest in comprehensible input dates back to the 80s because I was trying to learn German, and what I observed in my own life is that I learned a lot more listening to the German speakers than I did from studying in a grammar book or a vocabulary list. And so I intuitively understood that comprehensible input was the way to go, but I couldn't connect the dots. I couldn't figure out the relationships and the details. That was being done by experts, and I've just named two: Stephen Krashen, Marvin Brown. More recently, I discovered the work of Pablo Roman. So Pablo is originally from Spain. He spent a year at the AUA school in Bangkok. He's a polyglot, and he created Dreaming Spanish. So he's part of this lineage because he learned the approach created by Marvin Brown at the AUA school, and then he put it to the test through Dreaming Spanish, teaching Spanish to language learners. And I did his program to the best of my ability, and I was astonished at how well it worked. While I studied Spanish, I also studied comprehensible input, and I became fascinated how the human mind has an affinity for languages, and yet adults have trouble learning languages. So this channel, Input English, grows out of the interest created in me by Pablo and Dreaming Spanish. This is not a knockoff of Dreaming Spanish, but for sure I learned a lot from Dreaming Spanish. So our lineage to this channel is fairly simple. The problem, some key innovators, and then a lot of hard work. So that's the background that you need to know how we got here. Now what do? We have learned through Marvin Brown's work and further through Dreaming Spanish that there is a great advantage to us, the learners, to listen and listen and listen. This is in stark contrast to traditional language teaching methods where the student is told to speak on day one. So this version of comprehensible input puts emphasis on being silent for a period of time while you acquire the sounds of the language into your brain. You need those sounds. And we're going to talk about that in another video in great detail. In traditional learning methods, there's usually reading during the first week. And again, this is not emphasized in comprehensible input. There's great advantage to you to read in your target language, no question. But don't start with reading. There are big disadvantages. We talk about that in another video. The next concept is it takes time. So if you go onto the internet and you search language learning, you will very quickly find websites and businesses that say fluent in 30 days, no effort. Fluent in 30 days, no effort. It's a lie. It's just a lie. That's just terrible marketing. It's a lie. It's not true. It takes time. It takes different amounts of time depending upon where you start. If you start with a language similar to English, then English is easier to acquire. If you start with a language very different than English, then English is more difficult to acquire. It takes more time. There is no get fluent quick scheme here. No, it takes time. And you're in charge of how much time you put in on this each day, each week, each month. The amount of time you put in on this effort determines how quickly you get what you want. So if you'd like to speak with confidence and clarity, be well understood, and understand what other people are saying, it's going to take time. We talk about that in another video of how much time you should expect this effort to take you. Spoiler alert on that one. I can't tell you with great precision how long it will take. What I can tell you for sure is there's no fluent in 30 days. This is not a get fluent quick scheme. No. So, comprehensible input in our hands is listening and listening and listening to material that you understand. If you listen to material that is too advanced, then your learning efficiency will suffer. If you listen to material that is very clear to you and you know most of the words, then you will get it. We're going to talk about that a lot in other videos. So, with this brief overview of our lineage, how we got here, I invite you to come back and join us for other videos. We're going to talk in this series about how we build vocabulary, how we learn the grammar, and how we deal with accents, different accents, speaking accents. Input English is here for you. I invite you to join us in the future videos, but I also invite your comments below. Please take some time, drop me a comment. We'll be responsive to those. If you have any thoughts, concerns, questions, put them in the comment section. And I hope you come join us in future videos. That's it. Bye.